Hi, everybody. This is Holton Buggs, your Executive Vice President of Sales for Organo International. And today we're going to talk about one of the most frequently asked questions that our customer service and our headquarters at Organo receive from the massive field that we have. And that is, how does the compensation plan work? Well, first of all, I want to share with you that Organo has, in my opinion, one of the most generous compensation plans that we've ever seen in network marketing. What we're experiencing today with the number of people that we're having to succeed with this compensation plan is completely unprecedented. Well, what I want to do is let's just go ahead and fast forward and dive into some of the good stuff. Let's talk about how you actually get paid. Now, I want you to also remember that there's no guarantees of income with Organo's compensation plan. Everything that you earn is going to be in direct proportion to how you build a team, the product sales that you have on a wholesale level, the product sales that you have on a retail level, and your ability to learn and build within a system. But with all of that said, let's go ahead and get started. Step number one in getting paid in the Organo compensation plan first is becoming active. Let's talk about what does that mean, becoming active. To receive dual team commissions in Organo's compensation plan, there's 3 ways to actually become active or to become what we call a marketing associate. Well, the first way is this, is that to purchase or to sell at least 200 of personal qualifying volume with no time limits whatsoever. So that means that if you take 2 months to do it, you will become a marketing associate and you are now an active distributor. The second way is to sponsor one distributor on your left, to sponsor another distributor on your right, and to help them sell 2 of our optional promotional packages. That will allow you to become a marketing associate as well. The third way is that you can get yourself started, purchase our business kit, and then you can also select the optional bronze pack as well, and you are now a marketing associate. So remember, step number 1 is that you must become active. Step number 2 is becoming qualified. Let's talk about becoming qualified. If you remember step number 1 on becoming active, which is very simple, it's the first example that you want to set for your team. Once you've achieved that, then you can teach others how to become active as well. So in order to become qualified in the dual team commission structure, what you must do is you must personally enroll a distributor on your left, personally enroll a distributor on your right, and you teach each one of them on how to sell or generate at least 50 personal qualifying volume in their business center within that particular month. Once you've accomplished that, now you are what we call qualified to receive dual team commissions. The benefit of being qualified in the dual team is that it will allow you to generate income through sales all the way down through infinity from your left sales team and from your right sales team. And once you've accomplished those qualifications, you can now start to generate those commissions. One of the most frequently asked questions that we receive about the dual team is, how do I maximize the potential of the dual team? Well, let's talk about that. The information that I shared with you earlier were the minimum qualifications and also the minimum percentages of up to 10% of the lesser team that Organo would actually pay. Let's talk about the maximums. Organo actually will pay up to 20% of the lesser team's dual team volume. Let's talk about how we calculate that. Remember, in your dual team, you're going to have a left team, you're going to have a right team. Most of the times, each team will grow at a different pace. Let's give you an example of how that works. Now, your left team, let's just say, for example, that is the lesser team. It has a slower growth than the right team. Organo will use the lesser team's volume as the calculator. They'll actually take up to 10% of that particular volume, and it'll actually pay the commission. What they'll do is come over to the right team, which is the stronger growing team that have more sales, but they will match the volume from the lesser team and pay an equal up to 10% of that volume as well. And when you add them together, basically it's up to 20% of the lesser team. But what I want to do right now is explain to you each individual cycle. In the dual team, we all get paid in cycles. How does a cycle actually work so that you really understand? Every time 300 points appear on your left team and 300 points appear on your right team, it's called a cycle. Organo's system will actually start to calculate that volume, and if you look at it, 300 points times up to 10% will give you a $30 commission. On the other team, 300 points times 10% gives you another $30 commission, which means if you add both of those together, you've got a $60 commission for every cycle. Now, there is a maximum on the number of cycles one can actually receive income from, and all of that is based on your particular rank. If you look at it, as a sapphire, you can actually earn up to $5,000 per week. As a ruby, you can earn up to $10,000 per week. As an emerald, you can earn up to $15,000 per week. And as a diamond, you can earn up to $20,000 per week. And obviously with our elite levels, you can actually earn even more. And basically what that is, those are the maximum number of cycles that you can actually earn, but we actually calculate it in terms of what your income is. And that is the maximum earning potential within our dual team compensation plan. One of the most commonly asked questions that we also get is, if OrganoGold is willing to pay commissions all the way down through infinity, how can the company remain profitable enough to do so? Well, we can. What we've done is put together what we call a hybrid capping system that allows OrganoGold to remain profitable and also be extremely generous to the distributors who are out there creating all of these sales. Let's talk about this capping system. The first component of this capping system I will call the structural base capping system. Why do I like this one so much? Because it puts the power back into the hands of the distributor in terms of how much or how little, or if at all, they're capped. Let's talk about how we can structure that. Let's talk about the best way to structure your business. Let's assume that in your dual team, you have a left team and you also have a right team. In this example, I want to assume that your left team has about $100,000 of commissionable volume that is stored volume. It's just bank volume. Maybe it came from your upline sponsor or a combination of multiple people who are above you. In all cases, that won't be your situation, but then in this example, I want to illustrate how you can best structure your organization. Let's also assume that on your opposite team, you've got $10,000 in volume of what we call personal group dual team volume. Now, let me specify personal group dual team volume. It is simply group volume that comes from people that you have personally enrolled and all of their dual team sales down below. So in this example, you'd have 10,000 on your right, you'd have 100,000 on your left. How does our commission engine think? The first thing that it's going to do, it's going to calculate the caps. How does a cap work? It's going to combine both left team and right team personal group dual team volume, and it will pay out no more than 15% of the combined volume. Also, it will make sure that you get paid no less than 10% of the total dual team volume on your lesser team. Now, how does all of this work? In this example, you've got 10,000 of personal group dual team volume on your right. You've got 0 on your left. Because what most people tend to do when they have a spillover leg is to only build on one side. That's not the structure that we suggest you do to maximize the compensation plan. This is how that cap will actually apply to that particular structure. The $10,000 that you have on the right team, the company will look and say 15% of that total group dual team volume will be no more than a $1,500 commission. It is the maximum allowable payout to that particular distributor. Now, the second phase is that the company's computer will actually start to generate the cycles and to see what actually is the actual payout. Well, if you take a look at it, let's say 20%, as we spoke about before, of that 10,000 will typically have been $2,000 in commissions. But because of the cap of $1,500, it meant that that particular structure was subject to a $500 cap. Now, you may be looking and saying, Holton, well, I thought the company would pay up to 20%. It does. This is the structural based capping system and how it's actually applied. Let's just give another example to show that generating $10,000 in total personal group dual team volume is not subject to the cap. In this case, you still have the 100,000 of spillover volume on your left side. In this also case, you have the 10,000 volume that you've generated, but it's structured differently. Let's say that you did 3,000 of personal group dual team volume on your strong side and 7,000 that you did on your lesser team. The first thing the commission engine will do, it will calculate the personal group dual team volume. In this case, it's still 10,000. It's going to multiply 15% of 10,000. That means the maximum payout is $1,500. And then the second phase it will calculate the actual commissions. In this example, you've got 7,000 volume on your lesser team. The commission will pay up to 20% of that. 20% of 7,000 is $1,400. Now, the cap is $1,500, which means this particular structure is not subject to any capping whatsoever. See, what it does, it allows you to be in control of whether you're going to receive a cap or whether you're not. That is what we call the structural-based capping system. The second part to our hybrid capping system is what I would call the reserve capping system. This reserve capping system is typically the universal capping system that most companies apply immediately. What OrganoGold has done is put the power back into your hands in terms of whether or not or how much or how little you're capped. Let's talk about this reserve or universal capping system. Remember, the goal is to make sure that the company is never paying more than 50% of the sales that are actually coming in. Now, the structural-based capping system actually helps us achieve that goal. In the event that it doesn't, the universal capping system now starts to apply. I want to explain the universal capping system and how that actually works as well. Let's say, for example, your organization did $10,000 in total volume. Let's talk about how the universal capping system will apply. Now, with $10,000 in volume, the company's commissions should be no more than $5,000. Now, while the company starts to calculate, let's just assume that the company's commission engine says $5,500 are the commissions that's payable to distributors. What does that mean? It means that it's $500 over what should actually take place. Now, how does that calculate? What we'll do is we'll take the extra $500 in commissions and we will actually divide it by the number of cycles. Let's say in this example that there were 100 cycles that actually took place. Well, 100 cycles divided into $500 in earnings will be $5. What does that mean? That means that each cycle will now be adjusted by $5. If you remember, each cycle represents $60 in earnings. With the universal capping system, with this particular example, each cycle will now become $55. What does that do? It actually allows the company to maintain its profitability and also giving the most generous portion of those sales to our distributors. That's where it's actually deserved. This is how the universal capping system, or what we call our reserve system, actually starts to kick in after the structural-based system does not allow us to reach our goal of 50% payout. As we recap, the best way to maximize the compensation plan is building both teams. If you remember the example of the distributor who built one team, they were subject to the cap. If you remember the example of the distributor who built both teams, were not subject to the cap. What we've put in place is the 2020 plan that actually helps you to build that particular structure. It allows you to maximize the compensation plan, and all of the commissions that OrganoGold is willing to pay, you're able to start realizing those. As you go out and you share the OrganoGold opportunity, we want you to share it with passion. We want you to share it with enthusiasm. But most importantly, we want you to share it with integrity. We want you to always remember that the truth is simply good enough. It's easy, it's simple, it's coffee.